Every day, something dramatic happens in the Caribbean that affects our lives. We'll give you the details. We'll give you the facts on Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick. Here's Eddie Frederick.
Welcome to Caribbean Perspective. So glad you can join us. The story that takes the lead in today's edition for Wednesday, 24th July 2024, and brought to you in association with our friends at Antillean Group. Reassurances that the government and all other arms of national security committed to fight crime in Trinidad and Tobago. Details after this important message.
Believe in our strength, we'll stand by you. Protection from all perils big and small. Reassurance we give, it's so glad to see. Peace of mind, that's our service guarantee. We look after all our family. Yes, we do at every opportunity.
Antillean Group, underwriters of all classes of insurance solutions for your protection and investment. Live well financially.
Welcome back. With 334 reported murders for 2024, the Minister of National Security, Fitzgerald Hines, says that the Trinidad and Tobago government, along with the police service and other arms of national security, remain committed in the fight against crime. This TTT News item has more.
Minister of National Security Fitzgerald Hines is reassuring the public that the government, alongside key stakeholders such as the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, will continue their strategic fight against crime. He says many citizens are left traumatized by violent gang activities in Trinidad and Tobago, and immediate action will be taken.
The police statistics have often showed us that 65 or thereabout % of the murders that take place in this country on an annual basis arise out of gangland activity. So two gangs, whether it's over drugs, whether it's over a girl, whether it's over some rank, whether it's just simply ignorantly, blindly territorial.
According to Deputy Commissioner of Police Operations, Junior Benjamin, the TTPS is focusing on the implementation of strategies targeted at gang-related violence and improving their relationship with members of the community. He says over the past week, various arms of the TTPS collaborated in formulating strategies, which they believe is proving successful, with at least 263 people arrested.
15 firearms were seized. Of these 15, at least 3 of them are what is known as AR-15s or automatic rifles. We had at least 604 rounds also seized, 4,141 grams of marijuana, 513 grams of cocaine.
Minister Hines also says as the Ministry of National Security continues their multifaceted approach in reducing crime, the Trinidad and Tobago Prison Service is engaged in exercises across all prisons throughout Trinidad and Tobago.
In those searches, 1,549 grams of marijuana found, 43 improvised weapons. People in captivity seem to be, well, not captivity, imprisoned when their bodies are wherever it is. They are very ingenious and they create weapons out of some of the most apparently innocuous things.
He says they will continue to investigate and deal with rogue officers.
Caribbean region prioritizing relief aid after Beryl. More in this CVM News item with Courtney Lewis.
Hurricane Beryl, which pummeled Jamaica early July, left a trail of destruction, sinking the livelihood of many across the island. The hurricane resulted in billions of dollars in damage in the southern parishes, affecting major agricultural stockpiles. It's a similar situation in the Eastern Caribbean, as the hurricane swept the region, causing surmounting loss of homes, property, and economic devastation. During a United Nations Regional Response Conference on Thursday, Prime Minister of Grenada, Dickon Mitchell, said the work to return to normalcy has begun, especially in vulnerable areas, but the predictions for the hurricane season are damning.
our priority over the last week has been mostly in ensuring that we get relief to our citizens who badly need them in Carriacou and in Petit Martinique. Carriacou and Petit Martinique, St. Vincent and the Grenadines simply cannot afford another hurricane. Our islands are simply too vulnerable at this point. Even mere heavy rainfall will cause major disruptions in terms of flooding, landslides, and significant inconvenience to many of our citizens who are now homeless.
Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Dr. Ralph Gonsalves, shared that regional and international support has been beneficial, but adds the island will require further help.
How is a country with very little fiscal space going to rebuild 2,500 houses, as in the case of St. Vincent and the Grenadines? Even a larger country, the larger economy will find that very problematic, much less to a country as small and fragile as ours.
Meanwhile, Prime Minister Andrew Holness announced Jamaica's latest recovery initiative, the REACH program.
Our focus is on comprehensive relief efforts designed to provide immediate assistance and lay the groundwork for long-term recovery and resilience. Madam Speaker, today I am announcing the Relief Emergency Assistance and Community Help REACH program. The major elements of the REACH program will include the distribution of food and essential supplies, utility, water, electricity, and telecommunications restoration, housing and reconstruction support, and economic recovery and restoration of livelihood.
The program announced in Parliament on Tuesday involves the distribution of care packages, including medical supplies and food for the families most affected by the hurricane. Courtney Lewis for CVM News.
You're listening to Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick,
in association with our friends at
Antillean Group, underwriters of all classes of insurance solutions for your protection and investment. Live well financially.
The hurricane season is now upon us, so we as Caribbean people need to remember to think safety and be prepared. Avoid venturing outside during a storm or hurricane, especially if there are strong winds. Rooftops and other debris are often blown about and can cause great damage.
There was a security breach at the Sangster International Airport in Jamaica. Details in this CVM News item.
The management of the Sangster International Airport, SIA, has reported that at approximately 12:25 p.m., a security breach occurred at the airport involving an item which appeared to be a firearm that seemed to have passed through the pre-board passenger screening machine manned by port security officers. The item was spotted in a bag on the screening machine images after the passenger had passed through and entered the departures lounge. In keeping with protocols, the airport management triggered full emergency security procedures, which entailed the cessation of boarding and departure of flights until the passenger and bag were identified to verify its contents and treat with it according to security procedures. Having located the passenger and bag, the item seen on the screening machine image was not immediately found, prompting further search within the terminal for the possible dumping of the item. As a result of the development, the processing of departing flights was delayed. Minister of Science, Energy, Telecommunications and Transport, Darrell Vaz, provided additional details as the developments unfolded early this afternoon.
I have been informed by the Jamaica Civil Aviation Authority and the Airports Authority of Jamaica that there was a security breach involving a firearm at the Sangster International Airport. Emergency protocols have been implemented, and as we speak, that is what is taking place. There have been disruptions in relation to the flights that were to leave at that particular time of the breach, and also incoming flights have been allowed to land, but not allowed to deplane. So it's an evolving situation, but the protocols are in place, and hopefully the passenger and the bag and the firearm will be located in short order and normality restored, as happens all around the world.
It is understood that the emergency investigation has been concluded. The passenger involved was taken into custody along with the suspicious item that appeared to be a gun. It has since been identified as a lighter in the form of a firearm. Normal operations were able to resume at the airport at approximately 2:30 p.m. However, officials say that the processing of departing flights was delayed, which had a knock-on effect on other flights. 3 departing and 1 arriving flight were cancelled due to the disruption, and the relevant airlines made alternative arrangements to transport their passengers to their respective destinations as early as possible.
A local criminologist in Barbados is suggesting people, especially those in lower socio-economic groups, are being lured into crime. Kim Ramsey says, while poverty is not a cause of crime, it is a risk factor. She was a guest on the current affairs program, The People's Business, on CBC TV 8. Ms. Ramsey says at least 70% of the prison population does not have academic qualifications. She also notes 68% of inmates have reoffended because of the challenges they face on release.
How do you tell a person who has to pay a late bill of $100 and something and there's nobody in the house that's working? There's 25 people in the household. And they're living, they're living from day to day without any means of subsistence. And then there's the person who will come to them and lure them with, we know that you're poor. We know that you don't have any food. And this is a reality that happens. But here is a 5 bag, or here is a gun. You go and commit a crime for me and I will take care of you. This is the challenge. This is one of the real challenges that we face in our society, where people are lured into criminal behavior because they are looking for ways to survive. They go back into the same criminal element and the same criminal friendships, criminal communities that cause them to reoffend in the first place. And some of them reoffend within 6 months of being released from prison. What we have to do is work with the offender population. Aftercare, which is something that is in the prison, which needs more work than being done with it. We need to work with persons who return to society and need jobs. They have substance abuse issues. They have mental health issues. Some of them suffer from homelessness because some of their families do not want them to return to their homes. They lack skills, both social skills, and they're unemployable. And these are the real challenges that we face with our criminal population.
The Minister of Economic Affairs and Investment, Senator Chad Blackman, meantime, believes more opportunities must be provided for the country's youth if it is to see a reduction in crime. He made a link between crime and economic growth during an annual general meeting of the Barbados Labour Party's St. Lucie branch. Senator Blackman says many young people who find themselves behind bars are incredibly talented. And as Barbados continues to be faced with a declining population, Senator Blackman has described the Barbados Population Policy, which was recently approved by the lower house, as a critical juncture in the country's history. He says the island needs more people. This CBC News clip reaffirms Senator Blackman's comments.
But because there was a gap, sometimes, come from broken homes, sometimes it came from different circumstances. It slipped through the cracks, and then that void was filled up with bad company. But if we create more opportunities here and ensure that those opportunities can relate here and be felt here, we close that gap. And that's why ministers have to work with MPs, have to work with community leaders to ensure that as we grow the pie for the country, the ordinary young man and woman can benefit. And once you see that, you're going to see a reduction in crime over time. It's not an overnight fix. I'm not here to promise you any overnight fix. But it is necessary if we're going to continue to enjoy. If all of you here and all of you across the country were to take that as a motivation to go and try to correct the problem today, you would bear fruit in the context of 9 months from now, and it would bear fruit within the context of the economic projection within 18 years. But if in that 18 years of persons becoming part of the economy formally, in terms of working, we still have a problem. So what we have to do, we have to have a managed process of migration where we invite the best minds from around the world to Barbados to help us to build out our economy. And I understand, of course, when you talk about that, it is not always an easy thing, but it is necessary if we are to maintain our quality of life, our standard of life, as what we now know as Barbados.
I am Eddie Frederick. This has been Caribbean Perspective, a whole new approach to highlighting developments in the Caribbean. In the meantime, please follow us on Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube channel for daily regional news and more, in association with our friends at Antillian Group.
Believe in our strength, we'll stand by you. Protection from all perils, big and small. Reassurance we give, it's so glad to see. Peace of mind, that's our service guarantee. We look after all our family. Yes, we do at every opportunity.
Antillian Group, underwriters of all classes of insurance solutions for your protection and investment. Live well financially.